Welcome to the Beyond You podcast, where we have real conversations about healing, trusting yourself again, and building the kind of relationships that actually feel good. I'm Samantha, and if you've ever felt like you're just going through the motions, like you're doing all the right things but still feeling disconnected, you're in the right place. Because here we go beyond the surface, beyond the hurt, beyond the patterns that keep you stuck. So take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Hey, it is Samantha from Beyond You podcast, and I am just so excited to be here. We're in summer. I hope you were having a fabulous summer, but I want you to think about someone who ran hot and cold with you. Maybe they're in your life right now. Maybe it's an ex you still think about more than you'd like to admit. Remember how it felt when they pulled you close. The text, the attention, the way they made you feel like you were the only person in the room. And then remember how it felt when they pulled away. The silence, the confusion, the way you started performing for their attention again. Just trying to get back to that high. Here's the question I want you to sit with. Did that feel like love, or did it feel like a drug? And I've talked about this a lot of times in my sessions. And I really wanted to break this down because a lot of us have confused those two things. What we have done is we've called inconsistency chemistry. We've called anxiety butterflies. We've spent years chasing people who only show up halfway. And we've told ourselves it's passion when really it's a pattern. So before we dive in, if you're tired of mistaking chaos for connection, I need you to hit subscribe, because today we're breaking down hot and cold love, what it actually is, why your nervous system might be addicted to it, and how to finally break the cycle. So if you resonate with this, please drop a comment right now, because I really want to know, have you ever experienced this? I know I have. By having experienced someone's inconsistency for chemistry, because I need you to know you're not alone in this. And it's not because you're broken, I just kind of hate that word, but I know everyone uses. It's because something in you learned that this is what love looks like. So let's talk about it. So what emotionally unavailability actually looks like, over in the Moving Beyond You team, we've talked about this, now that we are expanding. So I'm so excited for that. But so first, let's just get clear on what we're actually talking about, because unavailability doesn't always look like someone who's obviously cold or distant. Sometimes it looks like the most intense, passionate connection you've ever had. And that's what makes it so challenging. So hot and cold, let me know the defining traits, because that can be really misconstrued a lot of the times. The hallmark of emotional unavailability is inconsistency. 1 week, they're calling you every night, planning the future, telling you that you're different from anyone they've ever met. The next week, they're distant, short, suddenly busy, and you're left wondering what you did wrong. And here's the trap. The hot moments feel so good. It's like a high. You'll tolerate the cold ones just to get back there. So avoidant patterns. Some emotional unavailability shows up as avoidance. They pull away the moment things get real. The conversation gets deep and suddenly they need space. You bring up the relationship and they change the subject. Intimacy, emotional or physical, triggers a retreat. Just like a retreat for them, just kind of going inside themselves instead of a pull closer movement. So this isn't always intentionally cruelty, so I just want to kind of put that out there, but often closeness generally feels threatening to them, but that doesn't mean it's safe for you. So not making room for your feelings is another way to be able to tell when someone's in this kind of cold behavior. Because here's a quieter sign that's easy to miss within this. They simply don't make space for what you feel. You bring up something that hurts you and somehow the conversation shifts to their feelings instead. You express a need what happens? It gets minimized, or it's met with defensiveness instead of curiosity. So you end up comforting them about the thing that was supposed to be about you. So if you consistently just feel like your emotional world has to shrink to fit inside theirs, that's emotional unavailability. Even if they never raise their voice, even if they say all the right words. So a lot of times we don't really realize this. So tell me in the comments if you have experience on this and which patterns have you just noticed, because we just already know that we're not alone in knowing what sounds familiar in our relationships. So now I want to tap into why this just even feels like chemistry, just the trauma connection beside all of this, because sometimes we don't understand that it can make a big difference. So now here's the part that's actually going to reframe everything for you. Why does this pattern feel so magnetic instead of obviously bad? So your nervous system, right, just what kind of keeps you feeling at peace and your stress cortisol, confuses intimacy with intensity. So intensity with intimacy, right? When someone runs hot and cold, your nervous system goes through a cycle. The closeness releases oxytocin and dopamine, so you feel connected, high, euphoric. Then the withdrawal hits and your body releases a cortisol and adrenaline and anxiety, that longing and need to fix it. And then they come back. And the relief of that return floods you, just floods you even with the dopamine and additional closeness did. So this is the exact same neurochemical loop as addiction. Just the variable rewards of this, right? So not knowing when the good feeling is coming, but knowing it eventually will, is what kind of keeps us in this kind of hamster wheel. And a lot of times, things like this are more addictive than the consistent rewards. That's literally how slot machines work, and it's how hot and cold relationships hook you. So when you feel like you can't stop thinking about them, that's not necessarily love. That might be your brain chasing a chemical pattern it's been trained to crave. So understand, if childhood taught you love was inconsistent, this is going to feel like home, okay? For a lot of us, this pattern didn't start in our dating life. It started in childhood. Maybe a parent was warm and attentive sometimes and distant or unpredictable other times. Maybe love had to be earned through performance, through being good enough, through managing someone else's moods. And I want you to really think about, like, if even someone comes to mind as we're talking about this, because maybe affection came with conditions or it disappeared without warning. If that's your history, consistency can actually feel suspicious, boring, even untrustworthy, because your nervous system learned that real love comes with uncertainty. So when someone shows up steady and calm, something in you doesn't know what to do with that. It doesn't trigger the familiar chemical loop that you're used to. So if it doesn't feel like enough. And here's the painful irony within all this. The people who are actually safe for you might feel the least exciting, because your body has never learned that safety and love can coexist. So codependency makes the withdrawal worse. If you also carry that codependent patterns, meaning your sense of worth gets tied to being needed, to fixing, to earning someone's attention, the cold phases of hot and cold love becomes unbearable. Because suddenly your job becomes proving your worth all over again, figuring out what you did wrong, just working harder to get them back to that warm version. You're not just missing them, you're trying to earn your way back into being valuable. And understand that's not love. That's a trauma response wearing love's clothing. So I want to know on how this resonates with you. This is hitting different than what you expected. Let me know in the comments. Please share to anyone you feel like would need something like this, because I want to be able to help more just women with this subject. So the part nobody talks about, turning the lens back. Okay, here's part of the conversation that requires some real honesty, because it's easy to point out that emotionally unavailable people or problems or person, right? And say they're the problem, right? And in a lot of ways, they're responsible for their own behavior. But I have to ask you something. How emotionally available are you to yourself? Here's a pattern I see constantly in my practice. People who chronically choose emotionally unavailable patterns and partners are often themselves afraid of real intimacy. Because real intimacy, being fully seen, fully known, consistently chosen, requires you to be vulnerable in a sustained way. It requires you to trust that you're worthy of love without having to chase it, earn it, or perform it. And if some part of you doesn't believe that yet, an emotionally unavailable partner is actually safer. Because honestly, you never have to risk being fully known and fully loved. You can stay in the chase. So you can stay focused on getting them to choose you instead of facing the much scarier question. What happens when someone already has? So the question to sit with, right? I want you to genuinely ask yourself, if someone showed up consistently, calm, steady, fully present, choosing you without games, would you actually be able to receive that? Or would it make you anxious? Would you start looking for what's wrong with them? Right? If the second one is true for you, the work isn't just stop choosing unavailable people. The work is becoming someone who can tolerate being fully chosen. And understand, I get that that's not a comfortable thing to hear. And I know a lot of you guys in my just sessions and then just in the practice in general, one like to be just being comfortable, but I understand that this is what's actually going to break the cycle. So what are the practical pattern break steps, right? Because we want to be able to break these patterns. All right, so how do you actually break this? Let me give you real practical steps. So step one, I want you to raise your standards before you meet anyone. So most people try to evaluate someone while they're already attached. By then, the chemicals are already working against you. Decide your standards before you're emotionally invested. And what I tell people to do is I want you to be able to write that down. What does consistency actually look like to me? What am I no longer willing to tolerate, no matter how good the chemistry feels? Step two, learn to spot the red flags early, not just in hindsight. So that hot and cold behavior often shows up early, but it's easy to explain it away. Oh, they're just busy. They're just bad at texting. Maybe I'm overreacting. It's all that is gaslighting yourself, which I have an episode on that. I need to know more about that too. But I want you to track the pattern instead of the excuses. If someone is consistently inconsistent in the first few weeks, that is information, not a problem you're meant to fix or to solve, which a lot of you guys tend to do. Step three, practice tolerating calm. This is the deepest work. Practice sitting with relationships, friendships, even moments that are steady and calm without manufacturing drama or doubt. When you notice yourself feeling bored or suspicious of someone who's actually being consistent, I need you to pause. Ask, is this actually a red flag or is this just unfamiliar? Step 4, do the self work separate from dating. You cannot think your way out of a nervous system pattern. This requires real work, therapy, somatic practices, nervous system regulation. Your capacity to receive steady love has to be built before you can actually hold it when it shows up. It's not saying that you cannot date at all, right? We're not saying that. We talked about a different episode, about 2 episodes ago, but you want to be able to make sure that you're holding capacity for that calmness, right? Step 5, once you create soft life dating rituals, set rules that protect your peace, not just your time. Things like, I don't reward inconsistency with more effort. I don't chase. I don't perform to win back attention that disappeared. You can be able to make rules for yourself. I match energy instead of overriding my own intuition to keep the relationship alive. You can be able to decide what your own rules are in this space and really seeing what that is and having that standard though, right? So if it's something where if someone's inconsistent or just give them, what's up or how you doing? Like, you're not going to respond to that. You just keep it moving. Okay. So here's what I need you to walk away with though. You weren't drawn to hot and cold love because something was wrong with you. You were drawn to it because somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that inconsistency is what love feels like. And over this channel, we are getting rid of that, right? This podcast is going to help you work through those things. If you need extra work, we have a team of people that can be able to help you through this process. But patterns can be interrupted. They're not your destiny. And the deeper work isn't just learning to spot red flags in other people. Okay, it's learning to become someone who can actually receive steady, consistent, fully present love without running from it. That is the real freedom, not just avoiding the wrong people, but becoming able to stay when the right one shows up. So here's what I just need from you. I definitely want you to be able to share this episode. I appreciate each one of you guys who come and tells me and how you really enjoyed the episode or liking and commenting and sharing, because I want to be able to touch more people and get to our 1,000 by the end of this year. And you can always tag me at I am Samantha on Instagram, and let's normalize naming these patterns instead of romanticizing it, right? And let me know, what did you resonate with within this episode? What do you want to see next? Subscribe if you haven't. These conversations are so needed, and these conversations that name was actually happening underneath the surface. So this is what we do here. So know that we have behind the scenes of Beyond You podcast over at the Gentle Samantha LPC on Substack, because I definitely want you to get up each week to have things for you. And our newsletters are so always packed with advice that is straight I love letter to you each and every week. So make sure you sign up for that. Know that I have the I Miss Me journal as well, if you want to be able to just get back to rediscovering you. So I'm just so excited for you and what you're doing within your life. And I just want you to stay just present with yourself through this journey. If you have any questions for me, let me know below. We make sure to answer each and every person as much as we can. So deep breath with me, because I want you to be able to say this. Hand over your heart. Chaos is not chemistry. Inconsistency is not love. I'm allowed to want steady, consistent care, and I am capable of learning to receive it, even if that feels unfamiliar right now. You don't have to keep chasing the high of getting someone back. You're allowed to want the version of love that doesn't require you to earn it back every single week. That's exhausting. Girl, I know it's exhausting. So take care of that brave, deserving heart, and I'll see you next week.